Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for questions to the Minister for Infrastructure, and I'll start with listed questions. I call on Trevor Clark.
Question 1.
I'll call on the Minister for Infrastructure.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. With your permission, Deputy Speaker, I would like to answer questions 1 and 4 together. My department's approach to verge management has recently changed to increase the focus on environmental benefit without compromising on road safety or our duties to deal with noxious weeds. This change occurred because I recognise the environmental benefits of road verges, and our approach seeks to allow wildflowers and wildlife to thrive. By reducing the areas of verge cut on many roads to a single swathe, or where possible without compromising on road safety, reducing to a single cut later in the season, it's possible to increase the focus on environmental benefit. Only those areas that can be left uncut without compromising road safety are left unmown. This approach will deliver benefits in promoting biodiversity. However, it's not designed to be a cost-saving measure. The changes I have made are for environmental reasons, not cost-saving. Given the size of the network, recent inflationary pressures and the safety requirements, there will not be any significant savings. Regardless, working with other agencies and public sector bodies, my department has a memorandum of understanding agreement with Causeway Coast and Glens Council to pilot biodiversity on a number of road verges in the area. The aim is to lower the fertility of the soil, adopt a cut and collect approach to grass cutting to allow the establishment of native wildflowers. Other enhanced verge maintenance, including additional grass cutting and landscaping of verges or roundabouts, is undertaken by local councils based on their own local arrangements. My department continues to work with local councils, and I will encourage others to adopt a similar approach to the maintenance of grass areas that I introduced last year.
Trevor Clark for supplementary.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and thank the Minister for his answer. Minister, I accept the biodiversity aspect of your answer. However, can I ask that you write to your department, or your divisional offices, and enforce the message to them? Because in my constituency in South Antrim, I think they're now running the risk of road safety with the road verges. Many of the road verges in South Antrim are not being cut, particularly at road junctions, and there's a real risk to road safety in relation to that. And particularly, again, also can add rural schools to that as well, please.
Minister.
Well, I would encourage the member, and I'm sure he has, to contact his divisional office firstly. But if he wishes to write to me directly, I'm more than happy to engage with the divisional offices about any areas he has significant concern about. The message is quite clear that road safety cannot be compromised in relation to this policy. Sightlines, etc., must be maintained, and I accept that my colleagues across the north are operating under huge financial strain and also staffing issues, but I am sure they're doing their best as well to ensure that sightlines and safety is the #1 priority. But I'm happy to follow up with any individual cases the member has.
David Brooks.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his response so far, which has largely addressed my point. But what I would say is I've had increasing complaints when grass cutting does actually take place in an area that it's looking more hacked than mowed, I'm afraid. And while I understand there's a change in the emphasis, surely if we're going to do a job, it's worth doing well and taking some pride in our communities, Minister.
I fully accept the member's point. We operate on a number of systems. We have our own operatives who work for DFI, and we have also a number of private contractors who carry out work for the department as well. Both always strive, or should always strive, to ensure that we maintain our areas to the highest standard. Sometimes I accept when the grass and areas get longer, it's much more difficult to maintain when it's only cut once a season. There is going to have to be a capital investment in my department and by some of the contractors as we move forward with this scheme, because what we want to do is ensure that we lift the grass as well as cut it, because lifting the grass removes the nutrients from the soil, and wildflowers grow better in soil with less nutrients. So over my period in office, we will have to make those investments, and as we award new contracts, some of our contractors are going to have to make them investments as well.
Nicola Brogan.
Will the Minister consider a wildflower planting scheme for road verges to promote biodiversity and reduce maintenance costs?
Yes, we wish to expand on the scheme I introduced last year or even the year before. And as I said to Mr Brooks, it does take a time for us to prepare the ground properly for this. We do have to invest in new equipment, as I've said. We will also have to ensure that the soil, etc., is ready for the planting of wildflower seeds, so they grow and then prosper, and the biodiversity comes from that, and also the aesthetics of that I think will also be quite pleasing. as well.
Sinead McLaughlin.
Thank you for your answer so far, Minister. The A6 has had cones on it for the past 3 weeks, from Dungiven right through to Drumahoe and Derry for grass cutting. Is there any way that this can be sped up in a main arterial route? It's shocking the delays that is actually happening on a main road.
Minister.
I'll follow it up with my officials. I'm not sure as to why it's taking that length of time to provide the service in the area, but it may be weather related, but I'll follow it up with officials.
Brian Kingston.
Deputy Speaker, and the Minister may recall I wrote to him regarding the Comber Greenway, and with thanks to my colleagues from Strangford, and I do run along the Greenway, and there is a section about a mile from Comber which is under the responsibility of his department, and it is heavily overgrown by plants. And it's a health and safety issue because, as he will know, it's a shared greenway for cyclists, runners, walkers, people with prams. And that section is very narrow because of the extent of the growth. I understand all the issues about the environment and plants, but it is dangerous,
Question, please,
that
Brian.
section. I would ask his officials to look at the width of the path, which is less than a metre, and groups of cyclists like to go past at great speed.
I'd certainly ask my officials to look at that. If you could identify the exact location for me, it would be useful as well.
Question number 2, Darren Forsyth.
Question number 2.
I recognise the inconvenience that has been caused by the temporary closure of one lane on the A2 Shore Road in Rostrevor due to a landslip caused by severe weather in November 2023. My department is currently finalising a design to put in place a temporary solution to move the concrete blocks into the roadside verge to allow the road to be reopened to two-way traffic. We will then appoint a contractor to take forward this as soon as possible. I am aware that the embankment is under the control of the Forestry Services and is within the area of outstanding natural beauty. My department will continue to liaise with colleagues in DERA, Forestry Service and the ANIEA to progress these works.
Darren Forsyth for a supplementary.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and thank the Minister for his response. And some 8 months on from the slippage, I'm sure he understands the frustration that is raised regularly within my constituency office. And the Minister also knows that I believe the roads in South Down are some of the worst in Northern Ireland, and I am consistent in taking every opportunity to raise this. And whilst I welcome the commencement of some of the works, I wonder could he give me an update on when the resurfacing from the Kilkeel through to Newcastle would be scheduled?
Minister.
I can't confirm the exact timing, but I will ask officials to contact the member in relation to that. The reality is that all our roads are in a dire state, or across all our constituencies, many of our roads are in dire state, and that is as a result of over a decade of underinvestment in them. I can assure the member I'm doing all within my power to secure additional funding. We're also seeing how we can use our funding to the most effective and efficient way in delivering improvements to our road services. So I don't think any member in the chamber, well, I suppose one area has to be the worst of all, but I'm not sure we can award that accolade just yet. I have more information to gather before I can hand out that unwelcome accolade.
Sinead Ennis.
And yes, the partial closure of the A2 Rostrevor, Shore Road in Rostrevor has caused much chaos locally, and I'm glad I welcome the Minister's commitment to a plan to make sure that both lanes will now be finally open. But could the Minister just explain perhaps why it has taken so long to put in a temporary solution?
The area involved, as I've said, is an area of outstanding natural beauty, and so we have to be mindful of that when we are both planning and seeking on-site inspections around how we're going to secure this permanently. It is quite a difficult site to work in. We've had to bring in geotechnical engineers to examine it, and once a plan is in place, I can assure the member we'll move ahead as quickly as possible. But it's worth noting, and another area might come up during this question time as well, where we have had a significant landslide. Major weather events are having an impact not only on terms of the quality of our roads, the surface of our roads, but also the surrounding landscapes, where we are seeing more and more landslides onto roads which are proving quite expensive and technically difficult to repair.
Mark Durkin.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Ceist Vertree.
My department approved the business case for for Phase 3 of the Derry to Coleraine project in November 2022, and issued a letter of offer of £97.7 million to take forward this important project for the North West. I fully recognise the need to address regional imbalance and better connect our communities, including those within the North West. This year, therefore, I have ring-fenced £4.7 million of funding in my budget to ensure that the Coleraine to Derry Phase 3 project proceeds as quickly as possible. The budget allocation is additional to the 5.3 that has already been spent on this project. This will allow Translink to progress this project as planned and seeks to ensure investment in public transport across the entire region. Work has already commenced on producing the required 55,000 railway sleepers for the project, and also on the procurement of technical and engineering teams required to take the project forward to the main work date start of 2026.
Mark Durkin for a supplementary.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his answer. Minister, £4.7 million is a far cry from the £97 million that you told this House had been approved for this project. You say the project is proceeding as planned. However, the project was planned to start in 2025, and this is now the second slippage of 12 months that we've seen in your first number of months as Minister. Can the Minister outline that this will proceed as a matter of urgency, and he'll do more to get more money for it?
Minister.
Deputy Speaker, you would be forgiven to think there's an election in the air. So you would. You would nearly think there was an election in the air, because Mr Durkin has been now promoting this inaccuracy or falsehood, not only in the local papers, but now I see it's also in the Irish News this morning, that I have delayed this upgrade. That is not. I didn't say it was you. I said it was in it. So it was, this is a complete falsehood, a complete inaccuracy. And if you are going to be a constructive opposition, then state the facts. And the facts are this: I have been in post 4 months. I came into post and I committed to ensuring that this upgrade went ahead. How do you ensure an upgrade goes ahead? You ring-fence the budget to make sure it goes ahead. I ring-fence the budget to make sure it goes ahead. Now, I'm sure you're not as soft as you walk. And you know as well as I do, there's no 3-year budget in place. So you know as well as I do that you can only ring-fence 1 year of a budget. What have I done? Ring-fence 1 year of a budget. What have I done? I'm making sure this project's go ahead. And do you know what I'll do next year? I'll ring-fence the necessary budget for this project to go ahead. So when you're on your election trail, which is fair enough, we all do it, but don't try and rub the eye of the electorate by telling falsehoods. I am the only minister.
Minister, please address your remarks through the chair. And yes, we've all had a little bit of fun, and yes, it is election behaviour, but you know as well as I do.
I certainly do. I certainly do.
Okay.
Deputy Speaker, the only person thus far to have secured any progress in relation to this upgrade is me. The only person who secured a budget for this project thus far is me. So, and I will ensure that this project will be delivered in its entirety.
Speaker, and I very much welcome the announcement of Phase 3 by our Minister. Minister, can you provide an update on the feasibility study on constructing a new railway line from Portadown to Derry?
We have secured funding through the UK Connectivity Report for this actual programme. It fits in also with the All-Ireland Rail Review, and is an important investment at this stage to move on towards the further steps of ensuring that we deliver on the commitments to not only regional imbalance, but also in terms of an exciting programme of work that's outlined in the All-Ireland Rail Review. I hope to be able to present the All-Ireland Rail Review to the Executive later this month. It has to be done in conjunction with my colleagues in the Cabinet in Dublin, as it's a joint project. But I think we are looking at exciting times for our railway service, including to Derry.
Thank you. I call on John Blair.
Can I ask the Minister if or how he intends to progress work on the Knockmore line in this financial year, and point out, Deputy Speaker, this connection of Lisburn and Antrim and the international airport would be of vital benefit all the time and not just election time?
I don't have all the information in front of me in front of the Knockmore line, but it is an important connection that we have to move ahead with. There is a number of feasibility studies that my department is required to carry out to open up the rail network as it should be and correct the mistakes that were made 60 years ago. I am looking at various funding opportunities, not only within my own department. I'm looking north-south, I'm looking towards Britain as well, as to how we can do that. I hope to be able to make positive announcements in regard to some of those matters in the time ahead, but I can assure the member that I am focused on ensuring that we open up our rail network again.
Thank you very much indeed. Colin Justin McNulty.
Minister, in terms of the All-Ireland Strategic Rail Review, could you give us an update in terms of the reopening of the Armagh-Portadown rail link, please?
Again, a feasibility study has been carried out in relation to this. It offers an exciting opportunity as we move forward. My department has a number of significant investments to make in the time ahead in relation to correcting regional imbalances when it comes to roads. The next phase of major investments from my department is going to have to be in our rail network, and I'll be making decisions on progressing that throughout my time in office, but some of those decisions will not come to fruition until I leave. But I will be assured, or assure the member, that I'm going to put in place the foundations to ensure that the next infrastructure minister, or maybe even the following up, because this is going to take several decades to deliver, has a master plan to deliver a modern rail network across this island.
Deborah Esk, going to call you for question number 5.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Question 5.
My department maintains a positive working relationship with mobile operators and remains committed to working constructively with the industry and other key stakeholders to consider relevant matters as appropriate through the auspices of the DEFE-led Barrier Busting Task Force. The Barrier Busting Task Force Planning Subgroup aims to identify barriers relating to the planning system and envisages best practice in mobile network development, how the planning legislative guidance frameworks compare to other jurisdictions, and how local development plans can take account of the changing nature of mobile telecoms development. It is at an early stage in its deliberations, and many of the issues raised by the industry will be considered by the subgroup. In particular, it will be important for the planning subgroup to collect evidence on what is leading to perceived delays in the processing of planning applications for mobile network infrastructure, which are processed by local councils. Many recommendations arising from the outworkings of the task force and its subgroup will be brought to me and other stakeholders in due course.
Colin Deborah Erskine for supplementary.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and thank the Minister for his answers so far. I welcome the fact that this is a cross-departmental programme, but I am aware of 7 planning applications that have been taken out of the system for this shared rural network programme. That is going to have a major impact in rural areas in terms of mobile connectivity and our ability to grow our economy and business and all of that. Outdated planning policy is hindering this project. So what exactly is the Minister going to do to solve this issue and fast before we're left behind?
Thank the member for supplementary. Well, I'm not sure who's taken the 7 applications out. Is it the operators or is it the councils? I don't know. But I do know this. There's no point in having a multi-department task force with the key stakeholders in it and me standing up here and telling them what the answers are. Let's wait on the report from them. I met with them recently. Let's wait on the reports coming back from them, the information coming back from me, and where I believe action is required, I'll take action. But I do think there's opportunities, and these applications, the vast majority of them are dealt with by local councils. So you might want to speak to some of your local council colleagues around how the process, how that process is operating at different councils. But if there's a requirement for a change of policy, then let's look at that. But let's read on the evidence coming to us from the task force.
Sinead Ennis.
Question 6.
It's a matter of deep regret that we're continuing to see so many lives lost on our roads. We must remember that each life lost is not merely a statistic, but a family member, a parent, or a child, or a friend. As of 23rd of June, 31 people have lost their lives on our roads this year. These deaths cause so much pain to families and to our community support. This month, I brought a revised road safety strategy to the Executive for its agreement. A digital advertising campaign is nearing completion, and last week the British Heart Foundation became the latest organisation to partner with us, pledging to share the Road to Zero. The Road to Zero strategy is an important document to refocus minds and energies on creating safe roads, safe vehicles and safe people. However, it's the only collective effort of us all that will truly make a difference. My officials are working alongside those in other executive departments and the emergency services to ensure that we have a single, agreed and collaborative approach to road safety. Once the outworkings of the budget are fully known, officials will then work with road safety partners to agree a forward work action plan covering engineering, enforcement and education.
Sinead Dennis for a supplementary.
And I thank the Minister for that response, and I'm glad to hear him talking about a collective effort, and I do agree that it will take everybody shouldering responsibility to deal with this. But could I ask the Minister to outline what measures are being taken to address some of those illegal road behaviours?
The illegal road behaviours fall down to the PSNI and detection of them, and we work closely with our partners in the PSNI in relation to the promotion of road safety. I am engaging with my colleagues in the department about bringing forward further legislation in terms of around drink driving, drug driving, being distracted while being the driver of a vehicle, and on other matters to improve road safety. And then obviously it will be for a matter for the PSNI to be able to enforce those matters. But the key and most important aspect of road safety is road user behaviour. Whether you're a driver, a cyclist, a motorcyclist or a pedestrian, it's how you use the road which is the most important thing as to whether you arrive home safe or the person you're sharing that road with arrives home safe. So yes, there are engineering solutions, there are education solutions, there are enforcement solutions, but if each and every one of us correct or challenge our own behaviour, then we will see a significant decline in the serious injuries and casualties we see on our road, particularly with the figures this year are just awful. 33 so far this year. So I'd appeal to road users to treat yourself with respect and treat other drivers and users of the road with respect as well.
Colin Stephen Dunn.
And I welcome the progress on the Department's road safety strategy and the interim targets, 50% by 2030 and to zero by 2050. Would the Minister share my concerns with figures released just last week from the Justice Department that drink and drug driving convictions are up by almost 20% in the last 4 years, and a lot more needs to be done to tackle this very serious problem? Maybe he could just elaborate on what he feels could be done.
Minister.
Thank you.
It is shocking to hear those figures. Some of that may be down to more detection by the PSNI, but there is no excuse or reason for anybody getting behind the wheel of a vehicle or any other form of transport if they have alcohol or drugs taken, which would impact on their ability to manage that vehicle. I am looking at introducing more stricter drink driving regulations moving forward. I'm also seeking to see how I can support the PSNI in terms of their detections of drugs on the roadside as well. But at this stage, I don't think, there's many areas of our driving and road safety we require education, particularly for maybe younger drivers, but everyone knows that it is absolutely unacceptable to get behind the wheel of a vehicle with alcohol or drugs that prohibit your behaviour. It's just totally unacceptable.
Number 7.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Traffic congestion occurs at Seaview Primary School due to a concentration of vehicles arriving and departing within a short period of time. Such congestion, which is normal at most schools during drop-off and pick-up times, is usually of relatively short duration. I can advise that officials from Roads Eastern Division have been in discussions with the school and the PSNI regarding various issues over a number of years. During that time, a number of school keep clear signs or keep clear road markings have been introduced on some of the streets around the school. It's acknowledged that the streets around the school are busy. However, no excessive traffic progression issues have been noted. Any congestion that does occur tends to clear quickly. While there are currently no plans to introduce additional measures at the school, I can advise that inconsiderate parking or parking in such a way as to cause an obstruction is an offence and which the PSNI can deal with.
Thank you. Brian Kinston for a supplementary.
Well, thank you, Minister, for that list of how this has been considered in the past. I am disappointed, though, that there wasn't an undertaking to at least look again at this issue. It is a matter raised regularly with me by residents close to Seaview Primary School, also the school principal, and by parents. And I have raised it with departmental officials, and they had given me an undertaking that it would be looked at. It sounds from your answer that it is not going to be looked at. It is an area of tightly packed, narrow streets, terraced housing, and from another era when many people didn't have cars. And I do think it's, whilst I accept congestion is always an issue around schools, there's a particular need
could the member
in
ask
that
the question?
area. So I would ask, I will be following up with officials, and I would appreciate if the Minister could at least lean on them to say, look, can this be looked at again? That's the only supplementary comment I would want to make.
Minister.
I suspect, well, I come from a generation, maybe like yourself, that we walked to school. And I'm from a rural country background, and I let my own children know that it was 3 miles. I had to walk to school and back again. Some days it's 5 miles, other days it's 7 miles. But the point I'm making is that we need to encourage more and more people and parents and children to walk to schools. Now, I accept in some circumstances that's not safe due to the layout of roads or other matters. So I accept that it's not a blanket solution to all these things. But I think, in particularly in urban areas, we have to encourage more and more children to either walk to school or cycle to school. And I know there's an onus in my department around that in terms of active travel, ensuring that the proper facilities and engineering solutions are in place. And I'll be bringing those forward as we work our way through the active travel policy moving forward. But the reality is, Mr. Kingston, the issues around Seaview Primary School are not unique. They're not unique to any urban setting. So I think the long-term or short-term or medium-term solution, whatever way we want to put it, is to ensure that we encourage more and more people to walk or cycle to school.
I call him Matthew O'Toole.
Speaker, I'm glad the Minister is committed to reducing congestion around schools. In my constituency, there's a whole range of them: Rosetta Primary, St Bernard's, Fane Street. I can think of many, St Bride's, where this is a real challenge. It's not just about congestion, as you say. It's also about air quality and also healthy living. There is a scheme which operates in outside lots of schools across the water called the School Streets Scheme. Is he aware of that, and will he work to roll that out across the north where it's applicable and useful?
Minister.
Thank the member for his question. I am aware of it. It has been raised in the chamber before, and my officials are looking at to see if we can adopt a number of pilot schemes here, just to see how successful that can be in moving forward. We have to take imaginative measures and measures to ensure that children and young people are encouraged to walk and cycle to school for all the reasons you have outlined. So it is important that my department plays its role and others play their role in encouraging people to do so.
I call on Nick Matheson, and you've got a minute, Nick.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I also welcome the Minister's commitment to promoting active travel to school. On that basis, are you able to confirm how much she'll be allocating to the Active Schools Travel programme in this financial year? Minister.
I don't have the figures in front of me, but I'll certainly share them with the member.
Thank you. And for a very quick supplementary, Pat Sheehan.
The last couple of supplementaries, can the Minister tell us what measures he's considering to encourage active travel and thereby reduce car travel and congestion around schools?
Minister.
My officials and I are working on an active travel policy because under the climate legislation we have to spend 10% of our capital budget in active travel as we move forward. So there's both a legal and moral obligation for us to do this. But I accept it's okay for a minister to stand up in the chamber and say, well, more people should walk and cycle. But we have to provide the proper network of footpaths. The footpaths have to be wide enough for cyclists and walkers. We have to provide proper street lighting. We have to ensure there's proper crossings in place, etc., for young people who will feel safe then walking back and forth to school. So I acknowledge my obligations under this and ensure the member I will be plotting out an investment strategy in that way.
That ends the period for listed questions. We'll now move on to 15 minutes of topical question. I advise you that question 10 has been withdrawn. I call on Mark Durkin.
Deputy Speaker, Pursuant to an earlier question, did the Minister state...
Through the Chair.
Did the Minister state, and I'm fairly sure that he did, that construction work on Phase 3 of the Derry Coal Range scheme would commence in 2026?
Minister.
I think I actually misspoke at the end. What we were doing is procuring the engineering team and the technical team to be in place for 2026. Construction will start in 2027. There is already the investment, which I ring-fenced, you may have heard me mention this before, is now being used to put in place to purchase and make the 55,000 sleepers that are required for this project. So there is an active plan in place to deliver this.
Mark Durkin for a supplementary.
I'm glad I gave the Minister the opportunity to clear that up after he misspoke in an earlier answer. The North West Transport Hub celebrated the milestone of 1 million passengers last year, which is brilliant and shows a real appetite for public transport out there. That's been achieved despite the fact that there's only one train every 2 hours on a Sunday. Can the Minister intervene to seek timetable changes from TransLink to facilitate more trains for Derry?
Minister.
Yes, I can and I will. Again, this comes down to decisions that you have to make. TransLink's dealing with a very, very difficult budget at this stage. I had this year taken the opportunity to ring-fence the capital investment that's required, but I will be engaging with TransLink as to how we move forward to providing the train service that's also required. It does require a significant piece of investment, but not an impossible piece of investment over the period of time I hope to be in office. But it does require a lead-in time because it will require the recruitment and training of new train drivers and staff, etc. It may require some additional infrastructure in terms of trains or carriages. But yes, I am going to work my way towards that project.
Thank you. Colin Cathal-Boland, please.
Last corner, and thank the Minister for his answers so far, but could I ask the Minister for his assessment of the transport costs faced by Health Trust?
Well,
Minister.
Obviously, all executive colleagues are under significant pressure, but I do note the recent reports around the transport costs being faced by Health, and I have offered previously, and I'm in the process of writing to the Health Minister. I think community transport is uniquely placed to assist the Department of Health and others around the rising transport costs. It won't suit every circumstances, and there will always be circumstances where patients require other forms of transport, but community transport, in my opinion, is ideally placed to assist with a significant proportion of the challenges that health communities, DAERA and other people face in terms of reducing isolation, ensuring people can be able to attend their health appointments, etc.
Colin Cathal-Boland for a supplementary.
And thank the Minister for his answer, but could I put it then to the Minister, would he agree that the departments should work together on health and community transportation?
Yes, I do. And in coming into office, I had attempted to arrange meetings with several ministers. I accept everybody's diary in the period coming in, and dealing with the challenges we had was quite significant. A small matter of an election got in the road, but once we get this out of the road, then I think there is an opportunity for me and other ministers to sit down to see how we support each other in terms of providing proper transport to rural and isolated communities.
Thank you, Minister. Alex Easton isn't in his place, so I call on Nicola Brogan.
The Minister will be aware that I and Sinn Féin colleagues in West Tyrone have long been campaigning for the upgrade of the A5 road. Far too many lives have been lost on this road, and far too many families and communities have been left devastated. So we are eager to see the road upgraded. Can I ask the Minister for an update on the A5 road upgrade, please?
Minister.
Yes, I can confirm that at this morning's executive meeting, I briefed executive colleagues that in the coming days I will be issuing them with my initial response to the Planning Appeals Commission's report. I will also be making a recommendation that we proceed with the A5. I am conscious that this is a cross-cutting issue, so I will issue the papers to my executive colleagues. I will await their feedback, and then I will submit a further paper for mid-August for their approval on the moving ahead with the A5 project.
As Claire Groan, supplementary.
Thank you, and I really thank the Minister for that answer. That would be really welcome news for people right across West Roan and for everyone who does use the A5 road. As I say, we've been waiting patiently for progress on it, so I do thank you for the work you've done and the commitment you've made to deliver the A5. Can I ask the Minister for his assessment of the impact that this upgrade can have on road safety?
Sir. I've given careful consideration to the 30 recommendations within the Planning Appeals Commission's report. I'm also acutely aware of the road safety aspects of this. I believe that if my recommendation to approve is endorsed by the Executive, then what we are actually doing is not only providing a state-of-the-art road, correcting regional imbalances, but we're also saving lives.
Thank you, Minister. Jerry Kelly.
Can I ask the Minister how he intends to play his part to reach the renewable energy target of 80% by 2030?
As Minister, I am committed to making a positive contribution, and I recognise that our planning system has an important supporting role to play. I want to ensure that our planning system operates efficiently and effectively with an appropriate legislative policy framework. Last year's changes to planning legislation to expand permitted development rights for the installation of microgeneration equipment, such as heat pumps, were brought forward. Later this year, I expect to publish revised regional planning policy for renewable and low-carbon energy to inform plan making and decision making within the wider context of energy and climate change.
Jerry Kelly for a supplementary.
Does the Minister agree that improvements to the planning system can assist this?
Yes, where we have an evidence base that we need to change and keep up to date with the ever-changing economy out there and how we support each other, then yes, I will make, and my department previously has made policy changes to that, but as the member will understand, I want to move forward on an evidence-based format to ensure that when we are making changes, they are to the betterment of the system.
Thank you. Colin Park-Delarky.
Can I ask the Minister for an update on the A2 Buncrana Road, please?
The member will be aware that the A2 Buncrana Road works were suspended as a result of a decision made when the Executive and the Assembly was down. They are now involved. The Buncrana Road is now part of the discussions around transport strategy and will move forward as part of that overall policy.
Park-Delarky for a supplementary.
That's very welcome, obviously, Minister, to hear that. It's very welcome for the people of Derry and actually for the people of Donegal who use this road as well on a daily basis. Can I ask you what engagement your department have had with both schools and with local businesses around this?
Minister.
Part of the development of the North West Transport Plan will also involve in discussions with the relevant stakeholders, and businesses and schools in the local community are key to that, so there will be ongoing discussions with those stakeholders.
Colin Trevor-Clark.
Deputy Speaker. Minister, I've heard you reference the A5 scheme and indeed this Buncrana scheme today, but can the Minister outline the average length of time that it takes for these schemes from their start to their finished, and actually the length of time it takes to pay out the compensation to landowners who are affected?
Minister.
Well, the A5 scheme, I think, is on the cards for 17 years. So it is far too long from announcement to delivery. Now, that is delayed for a variety of reasons, and it can be involve procurement, design, challenges to procurement, challenges to design, legal challenges, public inquiries, and quite rightly having to deal with landowners who are seeking compensation for us taking their land. So there is so many different moving parts in a major scheme that it can cause delay. But I do think that we as an executive and government departments need to sit down together and engage as to how we can speed these things up, because the inflationary pressure alone on the costs is frightening, never mind anything else. So I think we have to look at all the policies and frameworks we have to deal with to ensure that they're effective and efficient and necessary. And the key objective is that we deliver for the public good.
Trevor Clark for supplementary.
Thank the Minister for his answer. Minister, you'll be aware I wrote to you recently in relation to the A6 scheme, and one farmer who's waited now almost 8 years for his compensation payout. Much of that through the bureaucracy of his own department, officials coming to do survey after survey. At what stage will you intervene, Minister, in some of these to prevent all these surveys being carried out and unduly unnecessary pressures being applied to the farmers who are actually waiting on compensation for so long?
Minister.
Well, I tend not to intervene in individual cases. I think it would be wrong for me to do so unless there was exceptional circumstances. There is well-tested and proven policies, procedures and legal tests in place for the Minister to keep his nose well out of, to be quite honest with you. But if there is exceptional circumstances and I'm comfortable that I'm not overriding my powers, then I will look at the case, but it would be the exception.
Minister, I call on Danny Baker.
Can I ask the Minister to outline the timescale of the feasibility study into reopening the Antrim to Lisburn railway line?
I think this actually relates to... I can confirm that TransLink received funding directly through the Union Connectivity Fund to undertake a feasibility study regarding the reopening of the railway line between Lisburn and Antrim. The feasibility study is ongoing and will include demand forecasting for additional rail passengers, route and operating models, a benefit and cost plan and a delivery strategy, including the potential connection, and I think Mr Blair asked me about this earlier, to Belfast International Airport. The study is due to be completed later this year.
Thank you. Danny Baker for a supplementary.
Cormac, good for your answer. Minister, does the Minister agree that enhancing rail connectivity across this island is the future?
Yes, and just to clarify, the study will be completed early next year. Without a doubt, we have to correct the mistakes that were made 60 years ago. And as I said earlier, I intend to leave in place plans which will go a long way to ensuring that the Department of Infrastructure going forward is focused on the delivery of improved rail connections, both for urban and rural communities.
Thank you, Minister. And since Mr Carroll's not in his place, the Assembly will take its ease until 2:15. Then the next event will be health questions for the Ministry of Health.